The same quote can be said of us that St. Paul said in his letter to the Corinthian community. He said, we have the same spirit of faith, according to what is written. And his statement goes on and says, I believe. I think after that statement, we can say, we believe. Because of what we were taught from a young age, to where we are today as adults, about the Lord who created us. We have come to believe that Jesus is the Lord of our lives, and we continue to grow in our relationship with Him. As St. Paul states it, although our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. So many times over the years, we've heard the Genesis story of the fall of the human race. From that graced relationship with our God that we were meant to have. We inherited the consequences of the disobedience of our primordial parents, Adam and Eve. When we read the account of the fall, we see that their sin has brought change to their personalities. Each attempts to shift the blame to the other one. The man to the woman to the serpent. They even become afraid of their God, and they hid themselves. And they were embarrassed by their own nakedness. But we have come to know through the apostolic teachings that were preserved by the Church that we have been saved from their disobedience by the obedience actions of our Mother Mary, who is called the New Eve, and by her Son Jesus, who is referred to as the New Adam. The early fathers made a new myth out of this story by associating the woman at the end of this reading with Mary and the offspring with Jesus, and misreading the text to mean that the woman would trample the serpent, as represented in a great many statues and paintings. Actually, we have one statue downstairs in the chapel where Mary is standing there praying with her foot on the head of the serpent. We have all become family to Jesus. And in the final part of today's gospel, he teaches us about who is his true family. What seems to us in that reading as a rejection of his relatives was actually Jesus' way of asserting in a forceful way that there is a deeper basis for relationship to him than that's based on blood. This basis is the obedient acceptance of God's rule by people who try to do his will. The man and the woman in the first reading rebelled against God's rule. And so did those forces hostile to God, called demons, in the first part of the gospel. And also, finally, do those who sin against the Holy Spirit by denying that God acts in the world at all. Mark tells us that Jesus' words about his true relatives were spoken as Jesus gazed around him at those seated in the circle. There's some rhetorical questions we can ask ourselves. Are we in that circle? Are we listening to Jesus' words? And are we honestly trying to do his will? If we are, then Jesus' words are spoken to us. We are truly brother, sister, and mother to Jesus Christ. And that, my dear friend, is the good news. That is the gospel of the Lord.